Hey guys, welcome to part 2 of Flathead Fun. If you've watched part 1, you know we went out and picked up this 49 Ford Flathead and I started pulling it apart. There's a mouse nest in it, all this kind of fun stuff. So I'm sort of learning flatheads as I go. It has been many a months. I've been doing lots of research on this since I got it and pulled it apart. It's almost been a year now. So anyway, what we're doing is I want to continue the disassembly of the motor. So get all the pistons out, get the crank out, just get down to a bare block so we can get it up to a machine shop and have it hot tanked and magnafluxed and make sure that everything is good with the block. And then we can start to make the plan to rebuild it, maybe get a rotating assembly for it, some pistons, some higher compression stuff, some racy stuff for it. And the idea is that we're going to put this flathead into this 26 Model T modified that we're going to start working on here on the channel as well. So first order of business is getting these valves out. Now, for those of you that have done this, I understand it's a bit of a pain in the butt sometimes. There's these little keepers on the end of the valve and they've got to just kind of come off a certain way. Also, you have to depress the springs to get those keepers out, and I don't have the proper tool for that, so I'm going to probably make something. I had my pickle fork in here and was kind of playing with it, but it's the jaw is a little too wide. So I think I'm going to make something up here that'll allow me to pull these valves up and get these finicky little keepers off, and we can pull all the valves out and get on with that. So anyway, bear with me, and I'll show you what we got going on in here and the pain in the butt that it's going to be, and we're going to have to probably fashion a tool for it. So as you can see, what we've got here is this is our valve spring, and our valve is inside there. And there's a little keeper along the bottom here, and basically we've got to take that pressure off the spring. And so if I use my pickle fork here, you can see we lift this up, and we've got to get that little keeper that fell down there. We got to get it out. So yes, this could be a little bit of fun, and I think this kind of works, but I don't know, it's definitely finicky in here. Get this out. Let's see if I can grab that little keeper. Get it out of there. Yeah, so we're gonna have to play around with this for a while, I think. Get this out. Anyway, I'm gonna keep fussing with this and try to get some of these out. What a pain in the butt. Okay, so what I'm gonna do here is take this, this was a tool for doing click together wood floors or vinyl flooring. Anyway, I'm just gonna take this little bar and I'm gonna cut this end piece off, and I'm gonna cut a groove up in here that's the same size as the springs. So I can fit this into the springs and pry that spring up and try to give me a little better lift, because I was using the pickle fork and it just keeps slipping off and slipping the spring, and these things are super finicky. It's like a big pain in my ass. But anyway, it's all part of the fun. So yeah, I'll fashion this little tool up and we'll go from there. Okay, so I fashioned this little bar here, and unfortunately it's too flimsy. So I think what I'm going to do is weld this bar onto it. And then if we have to, we can put another bar on this for leverage. But I'm just going to weld this together, and this should fix it, I hope. I might actually weld it on the top. No, I'm going to weld it on the bottom. Okay. This is the fun of this stuff. Sometimes you're just learning as you go. And let's say I don't know how to do this stuff. I'm just making it up on the fly. And that's what makes it fun. Well, it isn't pretty, but it should work. Hopefully. All right. Ow. Okay guys, there's sometimes when you just need to concede and just swallow your pride and realize that your little tool you made probably isn't going to do the trick. I kind of lied to you in an earlier segment. I have watched a bunch of videos on YouTube about how to do this job. All of the people that show how-to videos of taking the valves out, yeah, they say it's not a fun job. So I had showed you one of these little keepers that drop down off the spring, and in earlier flatheads, they actually have a little groove in this little thing, and so what you have to do is lift the valve, lift the spring, drop the valve down, and then this little thing kind of pops out. After like 10 minutes of wondering how on earth that is supposed to happen when there's no groove cut in this thing, I went back to YouTube and found out that we actually have the style that has the two little keepers on the bottom of the valve. So after figuring that out, I did the right thing, and I phoned a friend of mine who dabbles in flatheads, and said, hey, do you have the infamous tool? He said, yes, I do. And so he brought this over, and away I went. Otherwise, I was going to buy one of these, $38.95 at Speedway Motors, and it would have taken a whole bunch of time to get it up here in Canada, and you wouldn't be seeing this video until way after Christmas. So anyway, I started doing this. There's a reason why that segment of me removing the valves out of here isn't on video. For one, there's this thing called YouTube Community Guidelines, and I ended up calling these valves pretty much every curse word you could imagine. So anyway, they're out, they're on the bench. That's, you know, a couple hours I'm never gonna get back, but hey, we learned that you probably don't wanna do that again. So anyway, they're out, and we'll continue with disassembly. Now, hopefully crank and pistons is a little easier to get out. Okay, so we're gonna start to take these caps off here and start to get ready to remove the pistons. Okay, so now we've got all the cap bolts off. It's just a case of pulling out these pistons. So I just get down in there with the butt of a hammer and a little dead blow here, and just pop those out of the cylinder. So these are stamped 30 over. So this this motor at one point had some work done to it, and was punched out 30 over. So hopefully the bore is good enough, and might just be able to scuff it up a little bit and then put some new pistons in. We may have to bore it. We may want to bore it depending on what we're going to do, but for now, we'll just get it apart and get it up to the machine shop. So anyway, I'm going to keep on pulling this bugger apart. Some of these can be a little bit of a bear. Just going to give them a tap with a little hammer. Probably not the right thing to do, but sometimes they really get stuck in there. You know, you can really get stuck. And you want to keep all these things in order too. The way I take them out, I try to keep them in order, just so, you know, if we do want to reassemble it, or who knows what's going to happen down the road with this thing. We just want to make sure that all these are in the same order as they came off. We can also, that's good for inspection too, after we get them all out, we can look at different things, but yeah. Okay, so I'm no expert here, but you know, some people always wonder why a motor was, you know, laying out in the junkyard in the first place. And usually it's because it wasn't running properly. So I'm no expert, but my understanding is that should be what you're looking for in a bearing. Nice, clean, everything looks good, but all the rest of these bearings look El Rocho. Look at that, that is done. So I'm imagining this thing, you know, probably didn't have much for oil pressure. Yeah, that's more something we'd, you know, be happy maybe with if it came out. But, you know, some of these are just, oh, that looks beautiful. I mean, that is just toast. So, good thing we decided to pull it apart instead of just running it and, you know, going from there. All right, so I'm gonna pull these main caps off. Hopefully. Yeah. Let go. Oh, she spins nicely. So we'll take these front main cap off and just see what these bearings look like. Well, I'm gonna guess, if I was a betting man, that they are probably not in the best of shape. But you never know. Weirder things have happened. So you start to wonder, like, whoo, smells great. You start to wonder, like, if this thing was bored like 30 over, at some point, you know, someone had this apart and reassembled it. So now the reason those bearings are roached was the reassembly not done properly. Oh, wow. What do we got here? Whoa, look at that. So I don't know if you can see this, but that bearing is like smooshed. It's rashed off right here, and it's like smooshed out into here. So yeah, so, you know, maybe this was put together by some guy in his barn. Yeah, look, it's rashed off pretty bad there. Wow. Lovely. Further signs that I'm glad we took the motor further apart. But I'm just going to set that there because we want to keep these with the motor. And, you know, we might have to get it, what do they call it, line board? Anyway, where they put all the stuff together and they bore it out to make it true for the crank. Again, that's something that might have to happen. I don't know. That's not my area of expertise. But something like that may need to be done. Again, I'm eager to get it to the machine shop. I'm dropping sockets. And have the machine shop look at it, and, you know, they can better tell us what we need to do to get it redone. We'll have a look at this bearing. Come on, baby. I love that smell of main cap bolts when they come out of the motor, or head bolts. If you've ever pulled apart a small block Chevy, when you pull the head bolts out, give them a sniff. Sometimes they just, oh man, they're rancid. Sometimes it's like, holy cow. Knock that loose. And I'll pull this bearing off and see what we got here. Well, this one doesn't look as bad. I mean, there's some scarring on it, but it actually looks pretty good. But that front one was no good. That's for sure. Okay, I'll set that there. And now we will bust off this back one if I can find my tool here. Let's go. Yeah. There we go. Break these bolts. So as I say, I am not a flathead expert in any means, so I've actually ordered a reassembly book because, you know, you start taking these things apart, it's all foreign to me. I've sort of brought up on Ford small blocks and Chevy small blocks, which are like super easy. So this stuff is all a little bit foreign to me, and woo-wee, it's a great smell. You know, so we're just learning. So there's a couple good books out there. I'm gonna order a book and do some Christmas reading on what this is all about. Yeah, so there's some wear going on in there. I don't know if you can see it, but it's not overly bad. As I say, the first one looks a lot worse than this. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just lay these on the bench in order. And then we can proceed to remove this crank. Hopefully, I think I should be able to just lift up. Now, the other thing about these cranks is they weigh a ton. Holy cow. So let's see if we can get it up and out of here without destroying our back. Oh boy, that's heavy. Oh. Lift with your knees, folks. So just another neat thing about these old flatheads is here for the rear main seal, they actually use what they call a rope seal. So this is like a rope type material, and depending on when this was done, it's probably loaded with asbestos. They make a new one now that's made with graphite, and so yeah, the rope seal. So now we'll try to yard this camshaft out, and you can see it just coming out past the bearings. And if the cam bearings are anything like the rest of the bearings in this old beast, oh yeah, come on, baby. That's tight, tight, tight. Come on. Oh, that's no fun. Yeah, she's tight. Oh, there we go. Let go. There we go. There's the old bump stick out of the flathead. So there's a little bit of wear on there. Of course, it's not like a Chevy. They don't have it stamped on the back what it is. So a guy could probably do some measuring. It says EAB, which would tell me that's probably a stock camshaft from Ford, so we don't have something cool like a Isky cam or something like that. But anyway, that's what we'll get, and we'll probably pull out and replace these camshaft bearings when we're doing the whole thing. Mine as well. Well, hey guys, that about does it for this episode. We've got this all torn down. I'm really happy. Got those darn valves out of this block, and now we can take it up and get it hot tanked and magnaflux. So I'm hoping that Gil up at Just Heads will allow you guys to come along with me and see how the process works. We'll make sure that block is all ready to go before we sort of take our next steps and start spending money on parts. But anyway, coming into 2022, we've got some cool ideas, some neat stuff that's gonna happen. Gonna do some road trips and maybe a couple more vehicles that we can work on. We're gonna be working on the Model T, and maybe I might get off my ass and get working on that old Morris Minor over in the corner. So anyway, I really want to thank you guys, those of you that have subscribed. Thank you for your support. We're just about a year into this whole thing, and we've had lots of fun. I enjoyed doing it, and love your comments. So you know, by all means, please write down in the comments whatever you want. I'm always happy to answer questions, or you know, help you guys out if you have a question about how we've done things here. You might be struggling with a project. So anyway, thank you so much, and we'll see you in the new year.